What's going on, everybody? It's Ricky with Video Homicide. Welcome to day 21 of the 31 Days of Horror here at the channel. When I initially made the posting that I was going to do this challenge, I kind of said in my head, and I might have said in the video, that I didn't want to go for your average horror stuff. I wanted to watch a lot of stuff I hadn't seen, but sometimes you kind of got to go for some old favorites, and I did it. I did exactly that. Me and my dad. We ended up watching The Exorcist recently, and I had such a fucking good time with this flick. This is one of those staples of horror, in my opinion. It is from 1970, for fuck's sakes, I think it's 1973. 1973. William Friedkin, who also directed The French Connection, which is a fantastic film, but The Exorcist. So, a little bit of backstory on my history with The Exorcist. So, this movie is one of those flicks that my dad told me was real, that could actually happen and could happen to me, and it scared the fuck out of me. Okay, and I think it scared the fuck out of a lot of people. When you watch it now, it's still scary. It's still effective. People like young people might watch it and be like, "Oh, this is hokey or this is cheesy." No, it's not cheesy. Give me a fucking film made in the last 15 years that's as well acted as just the priest in this film, Father Karras. Like, give me one person now that acts better than him than he did in that film, or even the old fucking priest. I forget what his name was, but this is a fantastic film. Like I said, my dad told me it was real, and the whole head spinning thing, and just all the shit flying in the room at that one scene, and of course, the famous scene of lick me, like this little girl is making her mother lick her bloody cunt that she just stabbed with a crucifix. It's twisted, it's very, very twisted film. I believe that even some religious sections of Catholicism have used this movie as they don't shy away from this film like they do with other movies. I believe Temptation of Christ was one that was heavily censored by people that hadn't even seen it, whereas everyone's pretty much seen The Exorcist, and the story of it is pretty legendary in its own right. I believe a few people died during the making of this film or shortly after, people that were directly connected to the movie. But it's definitely a spook show, to say the least. It's all about this little girl that gets it starts off with this old man who's he's on an archaeological dig, and they find this little statue of Pazuzu, which is a demon, and he also finds this little Pepsi. Was it a little Pepsi lid or something? No, fuck. You know what? I just got Alien versus Predator mixed up with Exorcist, if you can fucking believe that. I should shoot myself. But he finds a little tiny token, a little necklace charm, and he goes and he sees this guy who's someone that's gonna date it for him or some shit like that. And then the old priest ends up finding this statue of Pazuzu out in the Iraqi desert, and then it cuts to our actual characters we're going to be with for the rest of the movie. The mother, of course, who's an actress, and she's working on a film, and her daughter Reagan is played by Linda Blair, who's your sort of run-of-the-mill little girl, but she's been playing around with a Ouija board. And that's another thing that harkens back to my youth. I remember my dad always saying, if you're ever at someone's house and they start fucking around with the Ouija board, run. And I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Because my dad, he's so good at scaring the fuck out of me with movies, but then being nah, that's a good special effect. I wonder how they did that. So there was a good blend of this is fucking real, and that was cool. How'd they do that? So it always kind of made me question, well, if it's not real, how the fuck, what do you mean special effect? I don't get it. So since from when I was a kid, I was just a fucking nervous wreck when it came to horror films, because I didn't know what was real, what was fake. I remember when I was a kid thinking that Chucky, could you imagine being in the Chucky doll and that was your life for the rest of your life? Oh fuck, but I'm getting off on a tangent there. The Exorcist, man. I think some of my favorite standout scenes in the movie are definitely, it doesn't even really have anything to do with Reagan. It's when Father Karras is having that dream, and he looks down the street and he sees his mom walking down the stairs of the the subway. I just find that so fucking horrifying. And even like the scene at the end when he looks on the bed and he sees Reagan as his mother, like, oh man, it's so terrifying and just twisted to look at, man. Like they did a great job with this film, the casting, the acting, the direction, all the special effects, like everything about that room just smells like sick. Like when you have like the flu and you can like you have that like taste in your mouth, like that weird smells going on. That's what that room like looks like to me. Like it looks like that smell, and we're getting all these classic lines. Like the power of Christ compels you. Real quick, there's a movie. Well, I can't believe I'm comparing it to The Exorcist, but they do a direct parody from The Exorcist. Um, the end of the world, the movie that fucking James Franco and Seth Rogen were in, where it was like the end of the world, and Jonah Hill is like he's basically the demon laying on the bed, and Jay Baruchel is doing his little thing saying like the power of Christ compels you, and fucking Jonah Hill's like, does it compel me? It's not very compelling. Like in that way, like I'm a fan of those guys to some degree. I think that Pineapple Express and Superbad are probably about the best that Seth Rogen's ever done, in my opinion. Although This Is the End was the name of that movie. I did think that was pretty fucking funny. I will admit that. But I think that the actual film, the actual scene where when that's happening, it's very serious. It's very heavy duty. Like they made the room cold, like they refrigerated the entire set. So like when they walk in, they're really like almost like if you've watched the commentary. I've never seen the commentary on this for the record or any of the special features. I need to get a like a good. I think that digibook on Blu-ray was probably like the definitive home media release that you can get of The Exorcist. So I think that's probably what I'll get eventually. I do have a DVD, but it's like the snapper case one. Probably no effects or no features or anything like that. But anyways, if you've watched the Thing commentary, Kurt Russell and John Carpenter, they're talking about the scene where when Kurt Russell walks into that room where the big ice chunk is, and he's like breath is like, whew, and he's like, I must have took a drag off a cigarette for that, just to get all that breath. But in this film, like every breath is like that in that room, and I just love it. I think it definitely sells it. And Reagan is like sweating, so it really kind of gives you those flu vibes. And I think that it's really well done. So if you've not watched The Exorcist, but you're a fan of movies like Amityville Horror, trying to think of some other movies like The Omen, stuff like that. This is like the definitive horror film from the 70s that's like a major motion picture, because we got other good films in the 70s, movies like Clockwork Orange, or Clockwork Orange, I guess you could kind of say is a horror film in its own right, and it's also Warner Brothers, but I almost said Classic Ranger. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is another film from the 70s, but of course it's a much lower budget and shot on 16 and whatnot. But it's Omen is from 70s. Dawn of the Dead's from the 70s. Zombies from the 70s. Salem's Lot. There's tons of movies from the 70s that could be on that list. But I think Exorcist is probably one of my favorite horror films of all time, just because of how well it's put together. So I don't think many people would disagree with that either, unless they're fucking insane. Because there's a lot of cheesy, sleazy stuff from the 70s that I love. Movies from Argento, movies from George Romero, movies from like movies like Martin, movies like Dawn of the Dead, like I mentioned. My girlfriend actually just recently watched Season of the Witch, which she said she really enjoyed. So I'm stoked to check that out. She said she'd watch it again with me. I don't think I've ever watched it. I'm pretty positive I haven't, but I would love to, because I'm a George Romero fan. I want to see all of his films. But Day 21, 31 Days of Horror, The Exorcist. I appreciate everybody for watching. It's been a long journey. I didn't think I'd be able to make it throughout the whole. Well, I knew I'd be able to make it, but that's why I'm kind of doing it on this format. These next couple of videos and last video is because it's easier to do it this way. I feel like I can talk easier than just standing there in front of the wall. It's kind of a pain in the ass. It always makes me feel like I'm trying to rush through the videos, which I'm not trying to do. But sometimes it just feels that I have to rush, because I feel like I'm just like, waiting for the bus. I'm like, oh, well, the bus is coming. I gotta get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? So, yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a 666 in the comments, and adios.